not only are we staying connected with a more powerful signal, but it's also flowing data a lot faster.
Welcome to Around the Farm, the podcast about all things ag. I'm your host, Andy Folta, and today we are joined by Ryan and Phil from the field, and we're going to talk about some new and exciting things that we have coming in the pipeline. So, Phil, do you want to go ahead and start with an intro for us?
Absolutely. So, my name's Phil Larson. I'm a digital engagement lead for covering Northeast Nebraska. I live in Omaha. Been in this role for 4 years. Previous to that, I was working in St. Louis as a customer success specialist for FieldView. Did that for a couple of years, so I'm at total 7 years with FieldView coming in September, and full-time 10 with Bayer as a whole.
Wow.
Ryan Van Norden. I cover South Dakota, eastern and southern part of it. I got this role right after Phil did, actually, so I'm coming up 4 years with Bayer.
Well, thanks for joining us in the studio and coming out from the field. But question I have, so DEL, Digital Enablement Lead, for the different regions. Can you kind of unpack what that is, what you all do day to day, and who you're working with out in the field?
Absolutely. So we work with anybody that is involved basically with FieldView, right? That's a customer, a dealer. We have our other Bayer Crop Science counterparts, which are seed FSRs, chem FSRs. And a lot of what we do is making sure that the people that are using FieldView are comfortable with it. They know how to use the product. We also work very closely with our FSRs that are out in the field to help enable some of the new business models that Bayer offers through Delaro Showcase, DeKalb Seed Showcase, Channel Seed Showcase. And that all runs through FieldView. So we're there to be that digital expert and help make sure things run smoothly there.
Yeah, for sure. Bayer's got the best products in the business, so we need a way to kind of level set and let everybody know that they have that on their farm. So we help the growers track it, work with them, and we try to stay colorblind, right? We want to work with all machines, so we work with a lot of different compatibility aspects through all the different brands of OEM equipment, and that's where this Drive 2 is really going to come into play and really help us out.
Yeah, great transition bringing up Drive 2. And we invited you guys in here specifically because you two have been really instrumental in developing the launch plan for releasing this new piece of hardware. So can you kind of talk about, what Drive 1 has done in the market, maybe how long it's been out there, and why we're so excited to be bringing Drive 2?
We were excited to be a part of this Drive 2 squad. So within Bayer and our reorganization to DSO or Dynamic Shared Ownership, there's been a calling to get more people involved in these type of launches for products so that there is a voice from the field, a voice of the customer to bring. So when Ryan and I both got asked to be a part of it, we're like, heck yeah, we definitely want to be involved in that. And so we've been on that squad going back to October of last year to kind of help the launch. And we're super excited about it. On the Bayer side, they have new products a lot. They get excited about a lot of different things over there. On FieldView, we haven't had new hardware for 8 years. Drive 1's an 8-year-old product, so that is obviously outdated at this point. So we're super excited about what Drive 2 can bring with new technology and bringing us up to the 2024 where we need to be with our hardware.
Yeah, and even for the old guy, FieldView here, right? He's not even launched a piece of hardware with us, so it's something that we're all kind of learning as we go. We feel we've got a great product, so it makes it a lot easier to help with that launch. But with something that's like working with an iPhone 5, right? We have a lot of enhancements that we can bring to the table, and it's pretty exciting stuff to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I know the transition that I go through every time I upgrade my phone. It seems like things have progressed, and it's a better experience, a faster experience. So I'm sure there's a lot of things like that happening between Drive 1 and Drive 2, aside from just being a little bit taller and a little bit lighter. So what when you all are thinking about that transition between Drive 1 and 2, what are some of the things that come to mind that are going to get you guys excited about it?
It'll be faster as far as data moving from Drive to iPad. It unlocks more capability for us. And it also helps simplify a lot of the compatibility that we're doing today because of the ability for Drive 2.0 to interpret serial GPS data, where in the past we had to run a converter that was a separate piece of hardware to add on. So when we're hooking up equipment, and Ryan had mentioned machine compatibility and how we want to be a part of any color of equipment, we want to be in there. And this Drive 2 is just going to help make that a lot simpler process.
Yeah, so you unpacked a lot of things, so let's kind of go through each one of those. And the first one that I'd start with, you talked about compatibility, right? And we talked about serial GPS. So from a field perspective, can you unpack kind of what that looks like and how it's going to look different with Drive 2?
Yeah, let me give you a quick example of a guy that I recently had a great experience with Drive 2. So he's a grower that's doing a Delaro showcase for us from the Bayer side. So we need to get that data within FieldView. Well, he had what he thought was everything he needed to run the showcase. He calls me and he's like, hey, I'm not getting a GPS signal. I can't figure out what's wrong. Well, he didn't have the ActiSense converter, which is needed for Drive 1. So luckily, I had a Drive 2 that I had in my office that nobody was testing at the time. I'm like, hey, great opportunity here. Let me run this Drive 2 out to you, hook it up, get it connected, and we'll get you running that way on the latest drive. And he actually called me on the way down here because he wanted to clarify a few things, but he is going out and doing that spraying today, actually. And once we got off the phone, everything was working great. And it's just that type of piece of where, okay, we just kicked out a piece of hardware that we don't need that could prevent somebody from mapping or tracking data.
Yeah.
I haven't really messed too much with the serial conversion, right? But it is a very big thing for us because we have to have a whole other harness ordered. It gets a little confusing for the grower, right? Whereas now we can package it as one thing. They can go and transfer from machine to machine. Not all machines need the serial conversion. So it's kind of an adaptation now that we can just add into a package. They can get it all at once and have it right there instead of waiting for another shipment to come. So it's pretty handy.
Yeah, and I know, firsthand working with farmers, whenever we were setting up, something that had an ActiSense converter, I mean, it was a nominal charge, but it was something that they'd have to, shell out dollars and buy an additional piece. It's going to be nice that all of this is going to come in one package for sure. Can we talk a little bit more about stability and like what kind of calls, when you all are DELs working out there hand in hand with farmers and dealers, you get around stability? Because I think when we think about the heat of the moment and we're out there, we're planting, we're harvesting, the last thing we want a farmer to do is to stop. So how do we see Drive 2 making that experience better?
What I've been talking to my growers about on this, when Bluetooth first came out, right, you'd have like a Bluetooth headset or something like that. And if you got more than a foot away or so, it'd start dropping. Well, we had basically the same technology in Drive 1. Now I have Bluetooth headphones. I'll leave my phone in the kitchen. I'll go through several bedrooms and still be connected. That's what we've gained with the new Drive 2, as well as some speed too, right? So not only are we staying connected with a more powerful signal, but it's also flowing data a lot faster. And like with everything today, right, we're just moving more and more chunks of data with all our technology that's been enhanced since 8 years ago, right? So we just need to keep up with those speeds and keep that going. So what this means to the grower is in the heat of the moment, they're trying to get seed in the ground, they're trying to get grain harvested. This is going to keep them from having to stop. No downtime. It's going to stay connected to the iPad, let them get it connected, go out about their business, planting, harvesting, spraying, and make sure they have that data to use and analyze later.
So Ryan, when we were talking earlier this week at one of our meetings, you were telling a really good story about a customer that, was offloading data and how that was a lot quicker with Drive 2. So we know that it's going to have a more stable connection, but sometimes a farmer might forget to bring an iPad out. The iPad might die. How did that farmer, talk to you about that?
So I happened upon this. I was going to grab the Drive 2 that he was testing and bring it to another grower so we could just get as much data as possible. Come to find out that one of their choppers had a drive plugged in all season long, went through like 3,000 to 5,000 acres, somewhere around there, without an iPad connected the whole time, right? Didn't really want that to be the testing situation, but I was able to test out how quickly that can offload. Like you said, obviously with a Bluetooth connection that's stronger and faster, we shouldn't ever run into this kind of level of data being backlogged, but it was a great way to kind of test pretty thoroughly how quickly it could offload. So I hooked it up in my truck, just started letting it offload, thinking, oh man, this is going to take a while, right? Took off down the road, and by the time I had stopped at the gas station 10 minutes later, it was all offloaded. If that would have been a Drive 1, that would have been a several-hour process. We probably would have just had to wipe it because you can't sit around that long, and that means lost data. So, between fast connection and faster offload speeds, we should make sure that all the growers get all their data. So
yeah, that's excellent because we want to have actionable insights around the data that farmers are bringing in, because they've been bringing in data with a drive for 8 years in some cases, 5 years in others. It's great to have that data in the platform, but we want to be able to take action on that data, and it's only going to be impactful if we have that holistic view. What are we looking at kind of in the future with Drive 2? So we talked about security, stability, faster processing power, better offload speeds. What else is Drive 2 going to unpack for people?
So yeah, there's capabilities that will be built into Drive 2 that will not be there right when it's launched.
Yeah.
But there is cellular chips built into all the drives. So that's going to enable some things down the road to where we can have a drive connected cellularly and be able to have better access to be able to do firmware updates possibly. It's going to enable prescription transfer straight to the cab. So obviously that's going to be a little bit down the line right now. It's not going to be turned on right away, but they've taken the steps to build things in so that it won't be outdated right away, right? Like we're going to be able to turn some things on that's going to be nice whenever they're ready.
Yeah, you mentioned prescription transfer. Can we talk about that more? Because I think that's a really good play, and especially with you all being a part of the Bayer teams, some of the things that Bayer's advancing, like Preceon, SmartCorn, and some of those other systems.
Yeah, so that's actually something that's going to be compatible right out of the box, right? That's something that's built into that serial conversion cable. What it's going to allow growers to do is, especially Preceon systems, we get these great scripts out to the grower, but what happens when the grower's out in the field ready to start planting and realizes he's going to change his hybrid and wants a proper script with it? He wants to change population. Well, for me up in South Dakota, right, that's generally a half-hour drive back to the farm, go into your office, get the USB, plug it in. It takes quite a bit of time, another half hour back. Ideally, a grower would do that just to make sure they're getting the right seed amount and the right acre. With this new way of transferring prescriptions, what's going to allow the grower to do is actually take it right off their iPad, run it through the Drive 2, and put it right in their monitor. It's going to save them that trip. It's going to save an agronomist or one of our FSRs the trip out to the farm and let the farmer get the seed in the ground faster.
Yeah, so hypothetical situation or use case. I'm a farmer. I have a trusted advisor. We know most of our farmers take their data and share it to some kind of an advisor, whether it's an agronomist, an FSR, a DEL, or a dealer that might be influencing that operation. I've got a hopper full of a hybrid. I've got my plan that we aligned on and that was laid out. One field gets rained out. I call up Ryan and I say, hey, I still got 50 bags of this product in my hopper. Can you write me up a new script while I drive to the next field? And that will just go to the Black and Gold app and they can execute it.
Yep.
Excellent.
It happens all the time where a farmer calls and says, hey, one of my scripts I forgot to put on my thumb drive and I'm a half an hour from the shop. It's, we're saving time with this. So, and time is money when you're planting. It's get it in the ground. We don't have time to run back to the shop.
Yeah, well, everything farming is an investment, right? And, the seed that you buy is, expensive. The time that you put into planting your crop is expensive itself. So you want to make sure that you're using the tools you have, as efficiently as possible. So can we talk any more about the things that are coming in the future with Drive 2 around, capabilities?
The other big thing that, again, we got to build these things out, but we're looking for ways to stay connected to more equipment. With that cellular piece, it's going to allow us to have more connection. That might unlock things like fleet tracking, knowing where all your equipment is. Because, again, in South Dakota, we got some pretty big fields. You don't always know where the combine is. So if you had a way to pull up, from the tractor, you'd see exactly where that piece of equipment is. It's going to be really helpful.
All right, so we talked about, expanding compatibility with serial and, being able to convert that internally, which is going to be a huge advancement, make things, easier to set up, a little bit cheaper, and then making that flexibility to move between equipment much greater. Is there anything else that's, coming with compatibility with Drive 2?
Yeah, so we've been working with some different OEMs to make sure that, we're building this not just for today, but for the future as well. As I mentioned, it's, we're getting more and more data flowing through. So the OEM, John Deere's cases, they're working on upgrading their systems to make sure that data flow is actually going through the CAN bus system. So with this Drive 2, we've made sure that that's going to be compatible and work with those systems as well so that when it comes out, it's ready to go for many years.
Awesome. So, the Drive 1, it'll still be able to do everything that Drive 1 did, but everything else that's coming in the future, which is great. And what a better time to talk about the differences physically between Drive 1 and Drive 2. And I actually happen to have an old Drive 1. So do you want to take a stab at giving us an example of what the difference is? What are people going to see in the cab when they open that box?
So what they're going to see is really on Drive 2.0 is it's a little bit taller than what Drive 1 is, right? It's we're going to look at it. Most of it's going to be the same. There's some differences as far as some of the lights that will pop up from what you see in Drive 1 where there's blue and green. There's some on Drive 2. There's additional colors that will mean different statuses of the drive. But for the most part, what we've kept a lot of things the same when we look at Drive 2, and it really is just a little bit bigger of a device, but not much to where it's going to be inconvenient or anything like that. It's the same thing, just a little bit taller.
Yeah.
It also has some extra pins on the bottom. Some of my guys get real technical with them. If they flip it over, start looking at it. Those extra pins are part of that serial conversion. It allows us to convert that serial GPS to CAN GPS, which we can read, and it's the greatest and latest.
But so Drive 2 is a little bit taller. Can I still plug it in my cup holder of my S-Series Combine and put the cup holder back on top so that I can put my drink next to me?
Yeah, yep. It's going to be able to plug into, just like a Drive 1 would. You'll be able to connect it just like Drive 1. So
excellent. So what if I'm a customer who recently purchased a Drive 1? What does the migration look like?
The plan is going forward into next year, Drive 1s will still operate as they do. They will be supported, but there will be a time frame where we'll want everybody to fully switch to Drive 2. But if you have one that you've just bought, don't worry. It will continue to work for harvest. It'll continue to work into next year. So it'll still have all capabilities. Everything will still work fine. Obviously, we're very excited about Drive 2. And at some point, we would like you to make that switch over into Drive 2 and have that better experience.
Yeah, and that migration isn't something that's unique to the ag industry. I mean, that's even just to the Drive 1 going into Drive 2. Farmers do that today. Every couple of years with an iPad. The Apple will stop supporting an iPad, and you got to upgrade. With Drive 1, we're not going to take it out of the marketplace, but we do have a pretty good value proposition of why someone should go to Drive 2.
Exactly right. The hope is that you're gonna hear about the Drive 2 and how great it is, and like, okay, I just need to switch because it's worth my time, it's worth the cost of it. And just like everything else, a grower might hem and haw about switching up from the Pro 700 to the Pro 1200, and then when they get the Pro 1200 in their cab, they're like, oh, this is awesome. This is well worth the investment. So same concept there. You're going to get it and you're going to love it.
So you talked about investment. So how do I go in? Where can I go and make that purchase for a Drive 2 so that I can start collecting data?
Yep. So anybody with a climate.com account, they're going to go on to climate.com, log in, click on buy, just like they would for the Drive 1. You'll see the Drive 1's no longer listed there. We've taken it down. You'll see Drive 2 listed there for a price of $549. Pretty reasonable when we're talking about all the time savings, half hour of trying to get it connected on a Drive 1 compared to Drive 2. The hour driving back and forth to the farm to get prescriptions transferred. That's pretty valuable time savings right there. So $549 seems pretty reasonable to me on the price of the Drive 2.
Yeah, especially when you're thinking about peace of mind and then also all those enhanced capabilities. Absolutely. Okay, so with new hardware coming out, what kind of testing have we done out in the marketplace? How many have been out there? What are people saying?
Yeah, so we had a pretty large test last harvest. There was about 150 test drives out, guys running on the betas and combine. And then in this spring, we had another group of about 50 customers running it, testing it, planters, sprayers. So we've ran it through a full season. When you look at last year's harvest to this year planting, spraying, and we're happy with how everything has turned out, and we're looking forward to it getting launched. So
excellent. What are people saying?
So far, one of my growers that tested it, he's one that was calling me a lot, having issues. I got one phone call and it was, hey, I didn't have any problems, right? That to me says it all. I had another grower that actually we got to test out the prescription transfer. He thought it was great. He sat there in his office with me. We made his prescriptions on FieldView Premium and ran out to his tractor, got him loaded, showed him how to do it. Turns out he actually did change one of his fields around with a different product. And while he was out there, he's like, oh, let me try it out. Give it a shot. He said it worked just great and he loved it. So I can personally attest that prescription transfer really does save you some time.
Excellent.
And I had a customer testing, and I called him last week, and I was like, hey, you've been running Drive 2 in the planter. You've ran it in the sprayer. What are some things that stood out to you that you enjoyed? And, he said all the things about, hey, it's stable. The data I can see is offloading faster. It's all there when I go look at my iPad. But one of the main things he really liked, he's like, he has serial GPS on his equipment, and he's moving it from planter to sprayer.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have an extra ActiSense converter. To do it with Drive 1, he moves it from place to place. And he's like, this new Drive 2, being able to move it from machine to machine with serial GPS, he's like, it is so much easier and a lot more time saving of being able to get it from each piece of equipment.
Yeah, I know when I was a DEL, that was one of the phone calls that I hated getting, was about setting up serial GPS, because you've got those old VGA cables. You plug it in backwards, you're not getting, zero signal. You end up having to run out there, drive an hour to go out to a farm to meet somebody and make sure that the ActiSense was connected. And I know another DEL, we talked about this in a former podcast, his dad was testing it and was running an ActiSense converter, and his dad loved it so much that he stopped responding to Matt's phone calls because he didn't want to give his drive to back, which I think Ron's still gonna have to go out and make a purchase. But yeah.
Yeah, the simplicity again. It's and like you said, the ActiSense converter a lot of times is mounted in places where you can't see. There's lights in that ActiSense converter, and we're trying to troubleshoot. Like, are both lights flashing or one light flashing? No more of that. We're past that, so it's a good day to not have to worry about those anymore.
Well, and less clutter in your tractor cab too, right? The extra cabling and all, it just became a mess. And most guys have a whole wall of monitors as it is. So the less we can have up there, the better they can actually see out their cab.
Less zip ties. So I'm sure big zip tie is going to be, really strapped in 2025. So if I'm someone who hasn't gotten in on the digital ag game and I want to, get into climate because of this new piece of technology and how easy and stable it's going to be, how do I go about, getting connected? Who can I reach out to? What kind of resources do I have?
There's no better time, right, to join FieldView. You're jumping in at the time where you're going to be buying the latest hardware. If you're not on a digital platform yet, FieldView's the place to be. Like we can help you be more efficient on your farm. And the support you get with FieldView is one of the main things that we're proud of. We have in-field help, like Ryan and I, out in the field all over the country. And we have a great support team that sits in St. Louis that can be called. So there's no lack of support of, hey, I go out and sign up and create an account, and then I'm on my own to figure it out from here. We know that it can be a little overwhelming at that first, like, what can I all do with it? How do I get things started? That's where we're here to help. It's one of the things that's nice about being out in the field is being able to give that customer the support they need so that if you're collecting data, let's get something out of the data. Let's not just pile it in the account so that we can't make any analysis off it at the end of the year. We're here to help. And if you're thinking about it, find out maybe who your local, if you have a local Bayer dealer, they can point you in the direction of your FieldView field team member, or call our support line, and they'll get your name to us, and we'll reach out to you and come out and work with you.
Yeah, and so as Phil mentioned, right, we're there from the very beginning through the end. We're not just going to get it set up and let you figure it out on your own. We're going to follow up and say, hey, here's how you actually can start using this data too. You're spending the money to work with us. We want to make sure you're getting the most value for that. The other nice thing is if you're really hesitant, you're not sure, you're like, technology is really new to me. I'm not sure what to do. We do have a new package called FieldView Premium that offers some VIP support. So again, we'll be working with you. But we also do something called an account review where you can request it. We sit down with you, we go through your account, make sure everything's sitting the way you want it to, and start explaining some of the features you can use and how you can actually draw some results out of your yield data. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, one thing I really like about, this new piece of hardware, which hardware, is always an easy thing to wrap your mind around. It's something that you can touch and feel, but it's going to help you bring in data into your platform, and that really just drives a conversation and unlocks new opportunities. Like you all are, ingrained with the Bayer business, and how you all can unlock new opportunities with things like Preceon Smart Corn, Delaro Showcase if it's in your region, and things like that. So yeah, super exciting.
And, it's not just us, right? We have all our Bayer counterparts that are involved in this. They are very knowledgeable as well. So when you're talking to us, we can help you get in contact with a seed rep or an agronomist too. So we're trying to focus on the Bayer acre and make sure the grower has the best experience possible.
All right. Well, Ryan, Phil, thanks for joining. I know I'm excited about Drive 2, and I think everybody else is. It's great to have new hardware out there, making that, secure, stable environment for our customers. I also want to thank you all, our listeners. If you've enjoyed this episode of Around the Farm, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe anywhere that you get podcasts. Once again, this has been Around the Farm, brought to you by Climate FieldView. Don't miss any of our episodes. Stream them wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, we'll see you next time around the farm.